Okay, so as we're all gearing up for the final epic season of Stranger Things, something interesting has been happening behind the scenes. Two young actors have actually been replaced. Now, this isn't just some minor trivia. The reasons why this happened tell a really fascinating story, not just about the challenges of making a show that runs this long, but also about the very specific creative choices that are shaping how this whole thing ends. So you might be asking, why change any familiar faces right when we're at the finish line? Well, while these aren't part of the main Hawkins gang, their recasting points to some really intentional moves by the Duffer Brothers. And what's so cool about this is that each actor was replaced for a completely different reason, which kind of gives us this unique peek behind the curtain. First up, let's talk about a character who, even with very little screen time, is absolutely central to the heart of the entire series, Sarah Hopper. Her tragic story, it's the foundation of Jim Hopper's whole emotional journey. It's what defines his grief and those fierce protective instincts that have been driving him from day one. Her story really just unfolds in these gut-wrenching flashbacks, from Hopper helping her with breathing exercises to her eventual heartbreaking death from cancer. And in season 4, we learn he even carries this immense guilt, believing his exposure to Agent Orange in Vietnam somehow caused her illness. She's the ghost that haunts him, and she is the absolute reason he fights so hard to protect Eleven. The actress who first brought these incredibly moving scenes to life was Elle Graham. She was cast when she was just 5 years old, and she just perfectly captured that childhood innocence. In fact, that original footage was so powerful, it was reused for Hopper's big monologue in season 4, acting as this constant, painful reminder of the weight he carries. And here is where we run into the one enemy that no show can beat: time. Filming started way back in 2015 when Elle Graham was 5. For season 5's production, she's now 16. So to film new scenes of a character who we know died as a very young child, the show, well, they simply had to make a change. So, when it comes down to it, this first recast is really just a practical necessity. The Duffer Brothers needed to film new material for season 5, whether it's more flashbacks or maybe even visions, and you just can't have a 16-year-old playing a 5-year-old. A casting call went out for an actress who could embody that character at that specific age. It's a purely logistical problem. But the next one? Well, that one is way more interesting. All right, our second case involves the youngest Wheeler, Holly. But this time, the recast wasn't driven by time at all. Nope. This was a deliberate, creative choice that is dropping some major hints about what's planned for the final season. See, with Holly Wheeler, the reason for the change was all about the story's future, not the actor's past. For 4 seasons, she's basically been a background detail, right? The cute little sister who you see, but you barely ever hear from. Well, it looks like her time on the sidelines is officially over. Holly was originally played by a pair of twins, Aniston and Tinsley Price, which is super common in Hollywood. It helps productions work around the really strict limits on how long a child actor can be on set. Because of that, her screen time was always pretty minimal. Her biggest moment was probably seeing the Demogorgon in the Christmas lights. But for season 5, her role is apparently set to get way, way bigger. So to handle this bigger role, the show cast Nell Fisher. And guys, this choice is very telling. Fisher starred in the incredibly brutal 2023 horror film Evil Dead Rise. Now, if you've seen that movie, you know she can handle intense, terrifying, and really physically demanding scenes. That is a serious resume for a young actor, and it signals she's being brought in for a lot more than just a few lines. And if there was any doubt left about why they made this change, just look at their birth dates. It makes it crystal clear. Nell Fisher's is actually a little bit older than the twins she's replacing. This wasn't about an actor aging out of a role. This was a performance-based decision to bring in someone who could carry a much heavier, more intense storyline. So when you put these two recasts side by side, you see 2 completely different stories about the realities of making TV. One is a practical decision that's all about logistics, while the other is a creative one, and it's fueled by some big ambitions for this final season. This chart sums it up perfectly. For Sarah Hopper, the recast was something they just had to do because of time. For Holly Wheeler, it was a strategic choice they wanted to do for the story. This move is a direct signal that her character is about to become much, much more important. So, what does this all mean for the final battle in Hawkins? Well, new scenes with Sarah will no doubt add a ton of emotional weight to Hopper's final journey. But it's the Holly Wheeler recast that's really sparking some major fan theories. I mean, why bring in a horror-tested actress for a background character, unless she's not going to be in the background anymore?
And this is where it gets really, really juicy. We know the title of Season 5's second episode is The Vanishing of, with the last part left blank, and a super popular theory now suggests that the missing name is Holly Wheeler. Could the youngest Wheeler be the next person pulled into the absolute chaos of the Upside Down?
Honestly, this recasting feels like a massive clue being laid right out in the open. Moving a character from the background to the center of the action is a classic move for a final act. By casting an actress like Nell Fisher, the showrunners aren't just getting Holly ready to react to things, they're preparing her to act, to survive, and to play a pivotal role. The only question now is, what in the world will that role be in the final fight for Hawkins?